I dropped out of locksmith school after 1 week. I never planned to be a locksmith, but here's what happened. I think I might have run into a YouTube video or something along the way, and I thought, that's kind of an interesting job. I was a welder, I was an iron worker by trade. But working for the man, that's a lot of work. It's hard work. It's hot work, what I was doing. And I thought, what can I do? That's probably something that I can do when I get a little bit older. How heavy could locks be, right? So I started looking online for a locksmith school near me, and I ultimately found one. So I joined this school and started my locksmith journey, or what I thought was going to be my great locksmith journey. I believe this course was about 2 months. It was maybe 8 weeks long. After 1 week, I decided to drop out. School was just not my thing. It was not my thing. I learned in school, in the locksmithing school, how to pin locks, residential locks. I seen how to open up some commercial locks, a couple of those type of things. I learned how to duplicate some keys. And for me, I thought that's perfect. That's all I need. I'm going to now run off into the world and I'm going to start my own business, which I have. I'm 10 plus years into my business with more than 10,000 service calls so far. When I left the locksmithing school, I didn't have any tools. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't have any help. I had no other locksmiths out here helping me. And quite frankly, all of these guys, I'm their competitor. So why would they want to help me? They're definitely not going to help. And I had to learn things job by job. That was my education. I learned through the school, which should I have stayed? Maybe not, right? It couldn't have hurt, right? But I was just not a school person. And I ran off into the world with the minimal knowledge that I have. And I'm living proof of you don't have to go to a big school. You don't have to have all the tools. You don't have to have the big van, the big trucks, the $8,000 cutting machines, the $4,000 computers. There is a list of things that you could have out here. And that is the number one thing I have found, the number one reason why a lot of these new locksmith companies or these new locksmiths, they don't make it, right? Because they come into the game with every bell and whistle and tool that you could possibly think of, but they don't have the knowledge or skill set to use any of those. I was opposite. I had some basic tools, a screwdriver, a wrench, a tape measure, those type of things. I bought a pinning kit. I didn't even have plug followers, which in my videos, if you look, you'll see that to this day, I still use PVC pipe as a plug follower because that's what I had. I didn't have resources to jump online and get parts and pieces. I had to find out the hard way on where do I even get hardware? Where do I get doorknobs or deadbolts or levers or new pins or springs or caps or keys? I didn't have any of that stuff. And I'm living proof that you will learn this. You can learn this, right? I've made several mistakes starting this company, none of them financial mistakes, but I had no knowledge. Every single job that I did, I learned something. And I took on, like everybody, every brand new locksmith does. You key up your friend's house. You key up a couple friends' house. You key up your house. You practice on your own house. I did all that. That way, if I made any mistakes, there was leniency, right? If I messed up my own house, well, then I paid the bill. If I messed up on my friend's house, there was leniency on how to fix that type of stuff. As each job I got, my first couple jobs were rekey jobs, and that's all I had learned in school. That was the only job I took. I would rekey a lock. I would rekey a house. Every job I would get, I would then buy a brand new tool. I never went out of pocket. The only out of pocket I did was the business name, the business insurance, and fuel. That was it. That was the only, and my initial pinning kit. That was it. Other than that, if I did $100 rekey, well, then I would buy new screwdrivers, or I would buy, whatever it was I needed, something small. the first thing I would do is put gas into my truck. What was left, I would buy a tool. If I had to replace a doorknob, right, I would buy 2 doorknobs. That way the customer provided me with the doorknob. Now I can sell that next one for a total profit. So you don't need all the big bells and whistles. I'm living proof that you can do this. And I didn't even know that I wanted to be a locksmith. I don't know anybody who's a locksmith. I have never dealt with any locksmiths. And this trade, this is such a great business. I'm my own boss. I make my own rules. I make my own pricing. I generate my own customers. Everything I do myself. I don't have a big corporation behind me that I'm making rich. And if I want this day off that I can't because I don't have vacation time or I don't have sick time, I make all of the rules myself. And that is the number one thing that I have found out, that owning a business, especially a locksmith business, that is amazing and has just freed me up so much. The revenue that you make in this industry, in this business, can be really, really big. Just as an example, some of our service calls just to go out to a commercial building might be $175 just to show up. That's not to do any work. How many of you right now make more than $175 in a day, right? Some of you. I never did. I was a steel worker and I made pretty decent money. I didn't make $175 in a day. And there's a lot of people that are going to watch this video that don't make $175 in a day. This job, you can make that. If we rekey locks, $25 a lock. What if a building has 15 locks on it? What if a building has 5 locks, right? You do the math. And this is all labor. This is all profit. This is all. So then you could just go buy one tool. You could go buy a second tool. You could go buy a lock. And as you start to build the company, that's what I did. I never went out of pocket other than just the initial pinning kit, the name, register the name, the insurance, right? You have to have insurance. You have to have all this stuff. You have to be a legitimate company. What most locksmiths do, or what most new locksmiths do, right? They get a cool shirt. They think of a cool name, whatever it is. Dave's Locksmith, Bill's Locksmith, right? They think of that cool thing. They get a couple shirts made. They get some business cards made. Whammo, they start hitting up all their buddies. But the reality is you're not legal, right? You're not legal to work in any state at all. With that, I have put a bunch of stuff down on paper that I've learned along the way to make you legal, to make the next guy. If my son wants to be a locksmith, I have laid out a whole thing for him on what he needs to do so he doesn't lose everything he has. Your one job, your one broken door, your one broken something away from a lawsuit in this industry, right? I don't want to scare you, but that's the reality. Insurance covers all that. Don't get in over your head. You have to have structure, right? And structure means you have to put the business together the right way. Who taught me this? Nobody. Nobody taught me this. I didn't have somebody to lean on, right? Because I didn't finish school. But I'm 10 years into the business. I'm more than 10 years into the business, have more than 10,000 completed service calls. So we've done pretty good. But like I said, I've learned some things the hard way, and we've put this down on paper. If you're curious about this industry, right, which I wasn't, I knew nothing about it. I didn't want to be a locksmith. Who knows? But I started looking into it, thought, hey, I didn't even know this is a business. This is pretty cool. Now we're successful. Locksmithblueprint.com. If you're curious about any of this, if you've ever even wondered, be your own boss, your own schedule, your own money, everything. Locksmithblueprint.com. Go check that out and tell me what you think. At the very least, just look at it. But you can do this just like I did. I dropped out of school 1 week and whammo, 10 years later,